item as allowed by state law. At this time, please rise and recite with us the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The city clerk will now perform roll call.
Council President Sheard.
Present.
Councilmember Stelk.
Here.
Councilmember Conley.
Present.
Councilmember Nickerson.
Present.
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Hazy.
Present.
Councilmember Mendoza will be absent. Councilmember O'Neill.
Present.
Councilmember Pollock will be absent. Councilmember Lanfear.
Present.
And Mayor Steele.
Present. Also present are Jill Grenier, the city clerk, Laura McAloon, the city administrator, Matthew Gleason, the finance director, Stacy Nonhoff, the assistant city attorney, and Patrick Brown, the assistant city administrator and chief financial officer. Individuals who have appropriate items for city council consideration should complete the request for future agenda items form located at the information booth. If the issue can be handled administratively without council action, notification will be provided. If the item is scheduled for a meeting or study session, notification of the date will be given. A sign-up sheet was available in the lobby for individuals wishing to provide input on any of tonight's agenda items. If you did not sign up to speak on an agenda item, please come forward, state your name and the agenda topic on which you will be speaking. No one has come forward, so we will proceed with our agenda, the first being item 6A, approving First Amendment to the February 25, 2025 ground lease between the City of Grand Island and the Hall County Livestock Improvement Association. Mrs. McAloon.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 25th, via Resolution 2025-67, the City Council for the City of Grand Island authorized the mayor to execute a ground lease between the city and Hall County Livestock Improvement Association, commonly known as Funner Park, to facilitate the improvement of parking facilities on currently unimproved city-owned land near the Funner Park campus. The mayor has not yet signed the ground lease into law because we, following the public comment by former Mayor Vavricek, entered into further negotiations with Funner Park. And as a result of those further negotiations, we developed and approved an amendment that's been presented to you tonight. The amendment is to Section 20 of the ground lease, and it will facilitate termination of some or all of the parking access should future land use needs change on the campus, subject to the city providing similar replacement parking access. This amendment has already been approved by Funner Park at a special board meeting on the morning of March 3rd, 2025. There is no additional fiscal impact. As you recall, the lease had no cost to the city. Funner Park would pay for all of the improvements and would pay for maintenance of the public parking lot at all times during the life of the lease. So at this time, City Council City staff recommend that the council move to approve the First Amendment to the February 25, 2025 ground lease between the City of Grand Island and the Hall County Livestock Improvement Association.
Mrs. Parr, you signed our speaker's sign-in sheet, but I understand you are just here to answer any questions, if there are any. Is that correct? Yes, Mayor. Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2025 Tax 70.
Thank you, Mr. Lanfear.
I second.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? Mr. Sheard.
Thank you. I guess my question is, was this change in response that we could maybe expand State Fair buildings? Was that the incentive here, or the precipitous of changing this?
What precipitated it was the comments by former Mayor Favracek of concern on behalf of the state fair that the lease didn't have any termination clauses other than for default by either party. So we worked with Fauner Park to provide termination at will with 12 months' notice in order to give time to provide that replacement parking space.
And the deal we have to have for the casino, what they need is paved parking, correct?
Correct.
And we'd have a year that we would have to come up with that. Would that have to be on our land somewhere? We'd have to come up with it, or would Fauner be, there's that land south of the Fauner Park Road as well?
The language that's added to the lease is that we would have to provide Fauner Park with equivalent replacement parking spots in the same quantity as may be removed. Equivalent replacement parking will be parking that is paved, lit, and within approximately the same distance from the Fauner Park/State Fair campus as the existing parking lot, and then will allow for parking for the same term as the agreement.
Okay.
So equivalent, comparable parking somewhere else on the campus, somewhere else on property nearby.
And all parties are confident that if that happened, we could find those spots?
Yes, I mean, it may be that the spots are vertical, but
Gotcha.
the concern that was expressed is it was a 50-year lease with 5-year renewals, and that was just an unknown factor for whether the state fair would need to grow in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Nickerson.
I would sure hate to have Jamie waste her trip out here today. So Jamie, would you mind coming up and there was concern before that was the Nebraska State Fair okay with this? Let's just hear from you because you can tell us exactly what's going on.
You're asking if the state fair is okay with the lease, is that correct?
With the proposal, because there was concern a
Yes.
week ago that maybe you weren't involved and we're right now in the public, so
Yeah.
just share with us.
The state fair was involved in conversations early on, and I think this amendment will make the state fair very comfortable moving forward with the lease as presented.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please vote. Motion adopted.
We now take up Agenda Item 7A, executive session necessary for protection of the public interest to discuss contract and real estate negotiations and strategic risk assessments, including expert financial and legal advice related to the city's Good Life District Economic Development Program and development at Veterans Village. And Mr. White, you had requested a moment to speak. Please come forward.
Good evening, council members, on this beautiful evening. As you discuss the Good Life District project, I apologize, I think I carry on a little bit too loud for your microphone system here. I've reached out to our legal counsel, and I do want to express we do have concerns about your plans for an executive session. While I understand discussions involving real estate negotiations can be conducted in closed session, the language on the agenda suggests the planned session may include broader strategic and financial considerations that we believe are of paramount public interest. The Veterans Village project involves significant taxpayer funds. Given that voters approved the Good Life District plan last August, it's critical the process remain transparent so the public can fully appreciate and understand how these funds are being used. This also represents the largest TIF project in our city's history. Discussions of TIF have already happened in public and we believe need to stay in the public eye. I respectfully urge council members to ensure any executive session is limited to narrowly defined parameters and does not extend to discussions where public oversight is warranted. If any of you feel at any time that the discussion has exceeded the original reasons stated here, we would remind you that the Open Meetings Act, which is on the wall back there, does say that any of you can challenge the continuation of a closed session. We are talking about a high level of public investment, which does create significant public interest, and that is a public interest we believe needs to be weighed heavily against any government interest. Transparency is essential. I think we can all agree. As a journalist, I take seriously my obligation to inform the community which is made difficult when discussions happen behind closed doors. We ask for your careful consideration.
Mr. White, your words of caution are appropriate, and I'm sure that everybody will take them to heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Lanfear?
Yes, sir. I like what you're saying, okay? But why didn't you say it a year ago? You know, so much of this has been behind closed doors already. So why are you doing it now? I'm just curious.
Well, there was
It seemed like when they first started with the mall, that's when you should have begun. Why now?
I can't speak to that, Mr. Lanfear. What I can speak to is that there have been a number of public meetings. I have attended some of those in recent days. I had tonight on my calendar and was looking forward to the TIF discussion happening. When we were informed that that was an executive session that was happening and the TIF would be delayed, we felt that was an appropriate time to jump in at this time.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Lanfear.
Mr. Lanfear, your name is still up. Are you a mover on this, or?
I'm a mover on this. I move we go into executive session to protect the public interest.
Mr. O'Neill?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Please vote. Motion adopted.
The record should reflect that we are going into executive session at 6:12 PM. And all those who are not here for the executive session are please asked to leave the room so that we can proceed with our agenda.